Buonasera a tutti. I apologize for not speaking in Spanish. I hope that next time I will be in Chile, I will be able to speak a little bit more in Spanish. So I will speak in English, but I try to be very slow and you can understand. So I will speak about the future of robotics for human empowerment. And first of all, I would like to speak about consciousness. You know, here you have some declaration on consciousness, and especially now that many people and scientists, especially in the US, but also in other places, are speaking about the fact that AI has consciousness. And we are investigating on that problem, especially in the fourth point of this declaration. We say we must cultivate and strengthen consciousness. That means if we are dealing with artificial consciousness, we must nurture natural consciousness. And that means we have to invest in education, training, and culture, because we must think to future generation. So, speaking about the future of robotics, AI, disabled people, and use of technology for including people, not for marginalized people, we have to speak about the near and distant future. I plotted this graph, which is reporting that now online, in internet, the AI-generated content has surpassed human content. That means that we live in a world where AI is creating content and competing with human-based content. So we have to focus, to study, to be engaged, and to be involved in the future, in creating the future. So this Congreso Futuro, is important for that reason. We have to engage future generations in thinking about the future, which kind of future we want to have. So what we expect in the near future? We expect generative AI in education. So this is one thing which is important to me. I have been Minister of Education, University and Research. So having AI agents in education will revolutionize education. Then we will have more collaborative robots in industry. That means robots and human people sharing environment and sharing the responsibility of tasks. We will have personalized virtual tutors and ethical standards to be discussed. Then, if we think about more distant future, we will have more AI and robotics in healthcare, but to have that, we need clinical trials. We need the engagement of medical, clinical, hospitals, patients in clinical trials. No experiments, no AI in clinical facilities. So for doing that, we need experiments. We will have immersive education technologies. Again, education is part of this picture for the future. We will have autonomous public robots. Here in the exhibition, you already have some examples of future public robots. Means humanoid robots, but also wearable robots, people wearing robots, part of their suite and empowering and assisting movements. And then we will have agents, AI-driven agents in educational governance. This is the reason why, for consciousness, for the future generation, we have to think about the future of education. So, what will be the future of humanoid robotics? First of all, there are many humanoid robots in factories doing tasks. So, and this is a bit strange to me and to experts on robotics, because in the past we had several robots, but no humanoid robots. Now, Hyundai and other companies are developing humanoid robots for assisting and for performing manufacturing tasks. But we have different approaches. For example, we have exoskeletons. That means to assist and support the workers in the factories. But also, there are examples like the Amazon examples, where the factory is the logistics place where things and boxes and packages are prepared, where we have full automations, no humans inside. We don't have humanoid robots, but we have the best of robotic technologies in place for make this system working very fast and very efficient. So, humanoid robots is the eternal promise. In the past, is many, many years that we are assisting on this evolution. Now, there is a huge investment of companies for developing that. It is a sort of geopolitical race. We have many companies in the US, also in Europe, in combination with the US, also in Italy, investment in China and in other places in the world, and many big companies, especially companies related to automotive, so making vehicles. They are investing in developing robots. This is something which is not new, because also in the past, Honda, Toyota were investing in humanoid robotics. So, and the next step that we are expecting is the introduction of physics, of mechanics, of dynamics into language model, into some language body models that will allow and enable to improve the ability of robots of dealing with the general public environment or general domestic environments. So this will be the next step, to introduce into models the physics of the interaction between the robots, the human being, and the environment, so the task. For example, going into the kitchen, taking and grasping a glass, and then pouring some water. Then, I am much interested in AI and robotics in rehabilitation. My entire professional life, when I was researcher, and now I'm back into research, is to develop AI and robotics in rehabilitation. That means make people again doing things after injuries, after diseases, or with chronic diseases. So, and in combination with that, we have AI. AI can provide image-based analysis, genome interpretation, biomarkers, clinical outcome prediction, wearables, and you know, the life of people only at the point one, they are very fit. Then from the second, doing well, then managing well, and then for vulnerable, frail, moderately frail, severely frail. So we have to do so much in order to assist all this pattern and to be able to provide to people the technology for living a better life. But also AI is supposed to give decision support, for example, assisting the human beings in taking decisions thanks to model. And for doing that, we need something which is important. We need clinical trials. So the difference between the AI system and reality is the experiments. I am a physicist. Physics is an experimental science. No experiments, no life. So speaking about AI is good, but if we don't test in real cases AI tools, we will never succeed. So for Chile, it's fundamental to have clinical trials in order to be the first in experimenting new tools and to be the first to develop the industry related to the exploitment of science. So I think that the main message is this one. In order to have and transform science into technology, especially for disabled people, for patients, for clinical, and for healthcare, we need a system which is based on the enabling the clinical trials, enabling patients, enabling experiments. So we tested I have experience of several ways of experimenting that. We, for example, use that in consciousness recovery in hospitals with patients, trying to improve the ability to predict the outcome of therapies. So when we have to do with rehabilitation, so making people able again to live a real life and to go into real life. We need prediction of the outcome, so signals that we can use in order to select the best personalized therapy, to select the best setting in order to help them. Then there are progress, for example, in spinal cord injury from Switzerland. So there are scientists at EPFL, l'École Polytechnique de Lausanne, experimenting the integration of biotechnologies, of therapies or drugs, therapies, biotechnologies, implantable electrodes, and robotics. So the future in rehabilitation and in robotics for disabled people will not be robotics alone. Will be robotics with biotechnologies, with implantable sensors or electrodes, will be drugs and the knowledge of the biological system. So we cannot do that only with one part. Will be the integration of technologies in order to solve a complex problem. Finally, there is a large market expected on brain-to-computer interfaces that can be used to solve some problems, like implantable devices in the human brain in order to make people with high disability able to control devices outside, reading and expressing, so interpreting the intention of the human being, and also providing sensing, so sensory feedback to the brain. So it's in order to establish and make this embodiment of the technology, we need to establish a bridge between the brain, the perception of the subject, and the sensory feedback and the world outside. But of course, this will have also several markets which are much promising, and I think that brain-to-computer interface will grow, and you can see here how many billions of dollars are expected in this area. Finally, to conclude this journey in robotics and in the future of robotics, there is a new industry which is developing. After many, many years of promises, now we have many companies investing in robot companions. That means robots to provide therapy, but not only therapy for children, but also providing assistance, providing tools for gaming, for growing, for studying, for developing. And this is, I think, something which is important. So from one side, we have this area, education, understanding, developing of cognitive abilities in children, and doing games with children and staying with them. On the other side, we have development of robots for the kitchen, for cleaning, for doing tasks at home, and for doing tasks in public. Public means in relation with humans in the same environment without changing the environment. So the challenge for robots of this kind of shape and function is to be able to stay with us, not creating harm, but cooperating, and to be able to understand our needs and expressing our intention. This opens a lot of questions on ethics, on relations, on the future of education, on the future of cognitive abilities in children. So I decided to devote my future attention to the cognitive abilities of children, especially young children, very young children, primary schools or before the primary schools, engaged in cooperating with some sophisticated games like this, or with AI or products based on generative AI. So finally, my last message is a quotation of Galileo Galilei. You know, I am from Pisa. Galileo Galilei was born in Pisa, and he basically developed and was the first in developing the scientific methods. because the most important message, especially for future generation, is that AI is something which is modeling nature, is not nature. So when we have to go in the real world, we have to make experiments and to test in reality and to test the effect of the use of AI and robotics. So scientific methods will change because, or thanks to AI, but still it is scientific methods. That means experiments, data collection, and analysis. And then after the analysis, scientific evidence that this is useful or effective. Thank you very much.